Hello everyone, I'm Heather, and in today's episode of Misadventures in Travel, I'm going to tell you a cool airplane headphone jack hack. Alright, for this particular Misadventures in Travel story, it's not necessarily that we didn't make a mistake. We didn't do anything wrong. This was something unfortunate that happened to us, and it really wasn't that bad. I just thought I'd add it to the Misadventures in Travel playlist because it is something that kind of went wrong that we weren't expecting, and we had to figure out a way to deal with it. If you haven't seen the rest of the videos in my Misadventures in Travel playlist, it is a wealth of information for travelers about times that things have gone wrong when we've been traveling and what we did to fix it or what lesson we learned from that problem. So if you haven't seen those videos, I will link the rest of the Misadventures in Travel playlist at the end of this video so you can go back and watch it. Some of the stories are really funny and some of them are pretty serious and present some fairly major travel issues that you could encounter and that you might want to know how to handle. What I'm going to talk about today took place on our first flight since before the pandemic. We had last flown to Walt Disney World in March of 2019, and then we had not flown on an airplane since then. My oldest son, Andrew, had flown a couple times. His last flight was the week after ours in March of 2019. We didn't have the same spring break, and he went to South Padre Island, Texas with some friends. It was his senior year of college. And then he graduated from college, which I was really thankful that he graduated from college before the pandemic started because then it didn't impact his college experience. And then none of us flew at all for the rest of 2019. And none of us flew in the first, 2-3 months of 2020 before everything shut down and travel pretty much came to a standstill. The next time any of us flew was in March of 2021. Andrew flew out to Boston to look at law schools, which I've talked about before. And then he also took a trip to Mexico in June, shortly before we took this flight that I'm going to talk about in this video. So in June of 2021, we were taking our first flight. It was on Delta from Minneapolis to Baltimore, a relatively short flight. In reality, they say it's going to be like 2.5 hours. But both going and coming back, it was only like 2 hours. And Delta has the seat back entertainment screens, the interactive screens with music, movie, games, the flight tracker, all of that in the back of all of the seats on every Delta plane I've been on for many years now. I really appreciate them having that in-flight entertainment because, first of all, not everybody has a device that they can or want to use on an airplane. I especially think it's nice for families with kids because maybe they don't have their own device, or maybe you don't want to let them use your phone or your tablet or whatever. And each person can be doing their own thing, watching their own show, watching their own movie, whatever. It's just a really nice thing to have on flights. I'm glad that United changed their position on that. They were actually going to get rid of all the seatback entertainment, and then they changed their minds, and now they're going to put it in all their planes. So they realized the value of it. And there's an interesting story, if you haven't read that. The CEO of United, actually, it was his child or his grandchild that convinced him, no, you need to have seatback entertainment in all the planes. Okay, and I do think it's especially valuable for kids, which is integral to my story. Okay, so we got on the plane, and how I've been doing it in recent years, I really like having the window. I do miss getting the window seat myself, but being a kind and generous mom and wanting my kids to take advantage of the full flying experience, what I've been doing whenever we take a trip is I give Ben the window one way, and I give Megan the window the other way. So either going and coming back, they take turns getting the window. Okay, so on our flight from Minneapolis to Baltimore, this was on June 19th, I think, 2021, we got on the plane, we were right over the wing, Ben had the window seat, I was in the middle, and Megan was on the aisle. And we discovered fairly quickly that there was something wrong with Ben's headphone jack, We always bring our own headphones. You can buy headphones on Delta on the flight. They will sell them. It's not very expensive, $3 or $5 or something. I think they're actually earbuds, and I don't like earbuds. None of us do. We don't like putting things in our ears. So we actually bring our own headphones that go over our ears. The little light around the headphone jack on my seat and Megan's seat was green or blue, and the one on Ben's headphone jack was red. And we're like, well, that's weird. And then when he went to put his headphones into it, they wouldn't go in. And we tried, different pairs of headphones, same thing. They wouldn't go in. His screen worked fine, but he couldn't put in the headphones. And so we're like, shoot. We had already taken off and we were already flying and everything. And Ben really wanted to watch a movie. We were all going to watch a movie, actually. Ben had the movie picked out he was going to watch. He had it all ready to go. But he couldn't watch it because he couldn't hear the sound because he couldn't put the headphone in the headphone jack. After they got to a place in what the flight crew was doing, I just kind of waved down one of the flight attendants. Her name was Lola. She was a redhead like me, and she was very, very nice. And I just kind of caught her and said, excuse me, I said, my son's headphone jack we can't get a headphone in there and it doesn't seem to be working. And she was very annoyed. Not with me, with the headphone jack. She was like, oh, dang it. She's like, they should have caught that when they turned over the plane. Like when they cleaned and everything, they should have caught that, or at night or whatever. She said they should have caught that. I mean, it's very possible it happened on the last flight. And she knew right away what was wrong. She said somebody stuck something in it. Somebody stuck something in the headphone jack and now it won't work. And there was nothing she could do about it now. She couldn't, I don't know if they have to, it's like a little square. I don't know if they have to take the whole headphone jack out and replace it, or if there's a way to get the thing out of there or whatever. But whatever they needed to do to fix it, they could not do it now that we were in the air. There was nothing the flight crew could do about it. And she saw that this was a kid, and she's like, dang it. You could tell she was very upset for the flight experience of this passenger, my son, because he was not going to be able to use his in-flight entertainment now. She was frustrated and she was apologizing. She's like, I'm so sorry. If there's anything we can do for you, get you extra snacks or whatever. Well, that proved to be kind of a pointless gesture because the flight was so short that they barely had time to give us just the regular snacks. I mean, they barely had time to do drink and snack service the one time, and basically they had to clean up and we were landing. And I think she realized that pretty quickly that was kind of not really a helpful thing to say. She just left because there was nothing she could do, but she was obviously going to make a note of it that needed to be fixed. And she just kept apologizing. I'm so sorry. As someone who's been a single mom for basically all of my adult life, I'm pretty good at coming up with creative solutions to problems. And I'm proud to say that I came up with a pretty creative solution to this problem. I decided that what we would do was I had Ben plug his headphones into my headphone jack. And then I started the same movie on my in-flight entertainment screen and his in-flight entertainment screen at the exact same time. I literally pushed both buttons on both screens, and there was several steps you had to go through to actually get to the start of the movie. I remember he watched Bumblebee, and I went through the process of getting the movie going on both screens at exactly the same time, and I pushed those things at exactly the same time. And Ben said he was really impressed because I got the sound and the picture to line up exactly. So he could still watch the movie on his screen right in front of him, but he had his headphone jack going over to my headphone jack, so he was getting the sound from it playing on mine. And then I just read my book. I had brought a new book called The Layover by Lacey Walden. I like reading travel-related books when I travel. I even showed it to the flight attendant. I'm like, look, this is a book about a flight attendant. Ooh, quick tangent. This is the book I'm reading right now. It's called Hostage by Claire McIntosh. She's a very good writer. She's British. And this book, Hostage, is such a page turner. I only started it like 2 nights ago. Look how far I am. I can't put it down. I could seriously read this book in one sitting. It is freaking me out a little bit. I am filming this video before we take our August trip. I don't think this video is going to go up until after that, but whenever I read a book about something scary happening on a flight, before I fly, that's probably not a good idea. But as we shared in one other video one time, when we flew to Florida in 2019, Meg and I both watched The Mountain Between Us on the flight to Florida, which is about a plane crash, so go figure. But anyway, I highly recommend that book. It's a total page turner. It's a thriller. If it was a movie, you'd be on the edge of your seat the entire time. So Ben's watching his movie. Megan was watching a movie. She was watching Dead Poets Society. And I remember it was too long for our flight, but she finished it on the way back. That's a tip for you, by the way. Delta has a category on their in-flight entertainment for movies that are 2 hours or less. So if you have a shorter flight, I suggest going to that category to choose something to watch, because then you know you'll be able to finish it before you land. But if you're watching a longer movie like Megan was, that's another tip for you. That same movie is still going to be on there when you fly back. So you can watch half the movie or the beginning of the movie on your flight to your destination and finish the movie on the flight back home. Ben was watching his movie with his headphone jack in my entertainment thing, and I was reading my book. And after a little while, Lola walked by and I could see her kind of looking curiously and seeing that Ben had his headphones on and was obviously watching something. And she was trying to figure out, how did they do that? And so she stopped and I explained to her what I did. And she said, wow, what a great idea. She said, I never would have thought of that. And I felt like really proud of myself. I'm like, I came up with a really cool solution to this problem. And she was obviously had never thought of that. And I think was really impressed that I came up with that idea. And I said, it's fine, I'm just reading my book. And that's when I showed her the book I was reading. She seemed relieved too, like, oh wow, this woman came up with this thing so her kids could still watch this movie. That's so great. She told me a story. She said, I don't know what happened to this plane. She said that, and then some lady's seat in like row 10, she said, was like ripped out of the floor. She's like, I don't know what was happening on this flight, before this one. But she said, there's all sorts of weird things. And she said, what was the Hulk on here or something breaking things? I mean, she was just kind of sharing it with us and kind of laughing. She walked away. A little while later, she came back. She had they have like a handheld, it looks like a cell phone, their device that they do stuff on. And she came over and she was standing, on the aisle next to Megan. And she looked up at my seat number and she put some stuff in. And then she said, are you Heather? And I said, yes. And she said, I'm going to give you some Sky Miles for the trouble. And I thought that was so nice. And also, what a creative solution for her, since the whole have some free snacks, we get that anyway, wasn't really a great thing to, compensate us for this problem. She gave me, I want to say it was $1,000. I didn't, I got the receipt email right away that I had some new Sky Miles. I don't remember what she gave me. It was in the thousands. It wasn't like 2,000, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500, something like that, free Sky Miles. And I thought that was so nice and such a cool creative solution for her to compensate us for this problem with the plane that was in no way our fault. It wasn't her fault, but it was an inconvenience for us as passengers that we shouldn't have had to face otherwise. And that's just an example of what I consider to be really good customer service from Delta, which I'm always very pleased with how they have helped me whenever I've had an issue. Delta's always been really great about that. So I just wanted to share that story. First of all, to give you a little hack in case that ever happens to you and you have a bad headphone jack on a plane. But also to kind of give kudos to our flight attendant, Lola, that we had on our Delta flight from Minneapolis to Baltimore, because I thought that was really generous and kind of her. She was just very personable, and I thought that was really great. So this one wasn't really such a bad, Ben would have lived if he couldn't have watched something. He, maybe could have played a game on his phone or colored a picture or something. I don't know. I don't think he really had brought anything with him, though, otherwise to do. He's not a big reader like Megan and I are. So, it really would have been kind of a bummer situation if he couldn't have watched something. I was just really glad that I figured out a way to fix the situation and that it worked out. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoy travel stories like this, I share these kind of stories in a lot of my videos. So be sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of them. If you like this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up down below. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels.